Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today I'm going to make a Hemostat Mandala with some really bright colors. I'm going to place the mandala on both the front and the back of the shirt. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to center the shirt. And this process is going to go really fast, but down below in the description for this video is a link to another video which shows how to center a shirt. Essentially what I'm doing is getting both halves of the front of the shirt right up next to each other and both halves of the back of the shirt right up next to each other. That way when the shirt is completed, the front of the shirt is going to look pretty much the same on both sides or halves, and the same thing with the back. I'm going to start by using a washable marker and marking where I'd like the center of my mandala to be. I'm going to place the center just a little bit below the armpit of the shirt. Then to make the next fold easier, I'm going to use a straight edge and place it on that mark that I just made. Then I'm going to grab the hem of the shirt and I'm going to fold it up to that straight edge. I'm going to grab the corner of the hem of the shirt and fold it halfway back down to that initial fold. Then I'm going to pinch that diagonal fold and lift the shirt up off of the table, and when I do, it folds the top portion of the shirt down. Now I'm going to make one additional fold on each side of the shirt, and this is folded an 8-point mandala. If you want a 16-point mandala, you're welcome to make one more fold on each side of the shirt. Because I'm going to use hemostats, I'm going to leave it at an 8-point mandala because the fold would be too thick for me to use the hemostats on the shirt. I used my washable marker and I marked where the neck of the shirt is so that I know where to stop my hemostats. For this shirt, I'm going to use curved hemostats, and I've taken my hemostats and coated them with heat shrink tubing. I placed one piece of heat shrink tubing over each side of the hemostats over the teeth area. Then I used a heat gun to shrink it to fit. And then I trimmed any excess off at the very ends. The heat shrink tubing helps to give me a better grip or a tighter grip on the fabric, and it helps to keep the hemostat teeth from damaging the fabric. I'm using 10-inch and 12-inch hemostats for this design. I'm going to start out with 10-inch hemostats, and then when the fabric gets thicker, I'm going to switch over and start using 12-inch hemostats. And I try to purchase very sturdy hemostats that have a long teeth area. Sometimes you'll see 10-inch hemostats and they're 10 inches long, but the teeth area is very short. So I try to find the sturdiest hemostats I can that have a long teeth area. I'm starting at the end by placing a hemostat right at the very end at an angle with the curved portion facing down. From here, I'm going to alternate placing hemostats on each side of the shirt, and for this design, I'm going to place the curve down. You can change the look of your mandala by the way that you apply your hemostats. You can apply them at a stronger angle, at less of an angle. You can face the curves up, face them down. That will change the way your mandala looks once it's dyed. Around the handles of the hemostats, I'm going to place a rubber band. I had a viewer suggest that I do that to help keep the hemostats from popping off the shirt if the hemostats come undone. And that was a brilliant idea. It really helps keep them from flying all the way across the room. If they do pop, they normally stay in place, so I can just come and clamp them back down. I'm going to continue adding hemostats until I get out to the line that I drew on the shirt. The very last hemostat that I'm going to add to the shirt, I'm actually going to turn the curve the other direction. That will make my petal of the mandala going outward instead of inward. For the rest of the fabric, I'm going to do a couple really large fan folds, and then I'm going to hold those in place with some rubber bands. Then I'm going to place the shirt aside and allow it to dry out completely. I like to dye really thick folds like this when they're completely dry. I think I get better color saturation in the middle of the fold. If you'd like a little bit more information about this, I have a tie-dye blog out on my website, and I discuss this topic in more detail. I have a link to my website down below this video in the description. For this mandala, I envisioned kind of a little bit of a rainbow mandala with some super bright colors, so that's what I've chosen. I'm going to ice dye this mandala, so for my setup I have a long tub or tote, and I've placed a long metal rack over the top. I've placed the shirt on top, and I'm using some silicone cake molds to make myself an ice barrier. I'm folding the silicone cake molds in between the hemostats, and then I'm holding them together with some wooden clothespins. Then down around the very bottom area where the fabric is a little bit thicker and fatter, I'm going to use my silicone cake molds, and I'm going to attach or keep them up close to the shirt by attaching some wooden clothespins to the metal rack. But because this part is so thick, I'm going to use a piece of plastic cutting board, which I've cut into a strip, and place that around my silicone cake molds, just to give me a little extra height where I can add a little bit more ice to that area. Then, because the shirt is completely dry, I'm going to go ahead and lightly spray it with a little bit of soda ash solution that I've placed inside of a spray bottle. That's going to help the dye stick to the top of the shirt a little bit better. So like I mentioned, I'm going to do a little bit of a modified rainbow. I'm going to start with kind of the orangey colors and flow back into the yellow. So I'm starting with apricot blush right in the very end, or what's going to be the center of the mandala, and that's a dye spin color. This color is new to me. I haven't used it yet. I did make a color swatch, but I haven't actually used it on a shirt until this one. Next, I'm using watermelon from Dharma Trading Company, hot hibiscus from Dharma, purple sage from Dye Spin, turquoise from Dharma, lime twist from Custom Colors, margarita from Dye Spin, and lemon yellow from Dharma. I'm going to apply one color to each one of the sections formed by the hemostats, and I'm going to apply them in the order that I just gave to you. For the rest of the shirt, I'm going to use a color called Solar Flare, which is from Delula Company. And this is my first time using this color on a shirt too. I did make a color swatch and then use it on a kitchen towel, and the color is super bright and beautiful, so I thought I would try it in this portion of the shirt. Now I'm going to add an additional sprinkle of dry soda ash over the top and add on a layer of ice. So this shirt I'm actually going to end up inclining. I did a shirt not too long ago where the end was kind of large like this and sloped in toward the mandala portion of the shirt. And when I put the color on the end portion, it ran into the mandala. So I thought I would go ahead and incline this shirt and see if maybe I could avoid a little bit of that problem. To incline this shirt, I just placed one end of this metal rack down inside of the tote that it's sitting over the top of. After I added the first layer of ice, I placed the shirt aside and I allowed the ice to melt. After the ice melted, I came back and there was quite a bit of undissolved dye left sitting on top, so I went ahead and added a second layer of ice. After the second layer of ice melted, the shirt looked like it was pretty well saturated. I did have a couple areas on the lime green and the yellow portion of the shirt where the dye hadn't dissolved quite as well. So what I did with that area is I actually just took some of my soda ash solution and I lightly sprayed those colors. Then I took the shirt and placed it down inside of a plastic tub or tote that's long like this one and has a rack down in the bottom. Then I put the lid on the tote and placed the shirt outside where it could process in the heat. Placing the shirt inside of the tote with the lid on top will help to keep the shirt from drying out while it's processing, and placing the tote outside in the summer heat will help to make the colors nice and vibrant. So after allowing the shirt to process for about 24 hours outside, I went ahead and took it to my utility sink and I began rinsing it in cold water to rinse out the soda ash. I took the hemostats off of the shirt and untied the other portion of the shirt, warmed the water up to hot, and continued rinsing in hot water to rinse out the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric. I did have one hemostat which went ahead and popped during the processing portion of the shirt, but because I had the rubber bands tied around the ends, I didn't have any issue with it actually coming off of the shirt. Then instead of just rinsing for a long time, I went ahead and soaked the shirt. I placed some really hot water in my utility sink, added some Blue Dawn dish soap to the water, placed the shirt inside, and allowed it to soak. When the water cooled off, I changed it out and I continued that soaking process until my water was remaining almost clear. Then I put the shirt along with some Dharma's professional textile detergent into my washing machine and I washed it using a hot water cycle. Okay, so the shirt has been washed, dried, and ironed, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think? Well, I think this one is definitely bright, which is what I was going for, and I like the colors, but I don't like the incline portion. So if you look up at the top of the shirt, I have a little bit of muddiness up there where the colors ran, and I'm not real fond of that. At first, initially, when I opened up the shirt, I wasn't sure I liked it at all. So what I do in that case is I'll usually stick the shirt on a mannequin and put it in my office space. Allow me to look at it for a little bit and see how I feel about it. After doing that, I actually grew to like it a lot more. But I'm just not happy with that top portion where some of the colors ran together and kind of formed that muddy look. So, like I mentioned, I had a shirt where I had the outside color run in toward the mandala, and I think it kind of affected the way the mandala looked. So I wanted to try the opposite, try to get those colors to flow the other direction so that I wouldn't mess up my mandala. Well, that worked great on the bottom portion of the shirt, but on the top portion of the shirt, the mandala colors flowed out. You kind of run this risk whenever you do rainbow type colors, is rainbow colors don't actually mix very well if they run together. That's what happened at the top portion of the shirt, is those rainbow colors flowed out, mixed together, and that's the problem with the muddiness at the top. Okay, so enough of what I don't like. What I do like is I love the solar flare color. Isn't that color really cool? It's got the yellows and the oranges and the red, a little bit of peach and pink mixed in there. It's just a really pretty color. I really like that one. The other thing that I really like is how I turn the other hemostat going the opposite direction, and it kind of curves out toward the shirt, which I think is a cool effect. I also like the bright rainbow colors. I like using the more intense version rather than just the regular traditional rainbow colors. I almost called this shirt fruit salad because a lot of the dye names are fruit names. I used apricot blush, watermelon, lime twist, margarita, lemon yellow. And I know margarita is not a fruit, but it uses fruit. So though it's not my favorite mandala that I've ever made, I actually don't hate it either. I do think it is pretty, and I definitely think it's bright. I'm just not a fan of the muddiness up at the top. But what do you guys think about it? Please drop me some comments down below and let me know. And what do you think about these colors together? I really like the color combination, just not how they ran into each other. But I've promised to show my successes and my failures so that we can learn from both. And I definitely learned something from this shirt. I did another one at the same time, but I used different colors. And I had the same issue because I inclined it. It wasn't quite as noticeable on that shirt though, because the colors flowed together a little bit better. So this may not be your favorite shirt, but if you've enjoyed watching the video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it, and if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'll hit the bell, you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.